The doors of the diplomatic station slid open with a soft hiss. Ji-won stepped through them and tried not to stare at everything around her. She had seen many strange things in her years working on spaceships, but this place was different. The station floated in the empty darkness between stars built by dozens of alien races working together. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than any human ship she had ever been on. She walked slowly down the long hallway. Her boots made quiet sounds on the smooth floor. The walls glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere. Through the windows on her right, she could see stars stretching out forever. On her left, alien symbols flickered and changed on transparent screens. She could not read any of them. Ji-won looked down at her hands. They were covered in scars. Some scars were thin white lines. Others were thick and twisted, pulling at her skin when she moved her fingers. Burns, cuts, and marks from chemicals that had eaten through her gloves. Each scar had a story. Each one came from a moment when she chose to put her hands into danger to save someone else. She wore her best uniform today. It was dark blue with the Earth symbol on her shoulder. The fabric was clean and pressed, but her hands told a different story. They looked like they belonged to someone who fought wars, not someone who came to talk about peace. Captain Hyun-woo walked beside her. He was tall and quiet, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He had commanded the human ship Horizon for 8 years. Ji-won had worked under him for 5 of those years. He never asked her to hide her hands. He never told her to wear gloves to these meetings. "You ready?" he asked softly. Ji-won nodded. "Yes, sir. Remember, they will judge us. That is what they do here. Let them look. Let them think what they want. I know." They reached the end of the hallway. 2 more doors waited for them. These ones made of some kind of white metal that seemed to glow from inside. Guards stood on each side. They were not human. One looked like it was made of rocks held together by orange light. The other had too many arms and eyes that moved in different directions. The doors opened. The ceremony hall was bigger than Ji-won expected. The ceiling stretched up so high she could barely see it. Hundreds of aliens filled the space. Some stood on the floor. Others floated in the air. A few hung from the ceiling on thick cords. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. A platform stood in the center of the room. That was where the humans were supposed to go. Ji-won and Captain Hyun-woo walked toward it. Every step felt long. She could feel hundreds of eyes watching her, eyes of every color and shape. Some aliens had dozens of eyes. Others had just one big eye in the center of their face. They reached the platform and climbed up. The surface was smooth and cold under Ji-won's boots. Captain Hyun-woo stood tall beside her. 2 other humans from their ship stood behind them. Young Dae-hyun, their communications officer, and Min-ji, their doctor. Both of them kept their faces calm and blank. An alien stepped forward from the crowd. He was tall and thin, with purple skin that seemed to shimmer when he moved. 4 arms hung from his shoulders. His face was long and narrow, with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. He wore robes that looked like they were made of liquid silver. "I am Ambassador Velthar of the Kryn Empire," the alien said. His voice came out smooth and cold, translated by the device in Ji-won's ear. "We welcome the humans to this gathering." Captain Hyun-woo bowed his head slightly. "We thank you for allowing us here." Velthar's 3 eyes moved, looking over each human on the platform. When his gaze reached Ji-won, it stopped, his eyes fixed on her hands. She stood still and kept her hands at her sides. She did not try to hide them. "This one is damaged," Velthar said. His voice was not loud, but everyone could hear it in the quiet hall. "Why do the humans send damaged ones to speak for them?" Ji-won felt her face grow hot. But she did not move. She did not speak. Captain Hyun-woo had taught her that silence was sometimes the best answer. "Her hands," Velthar continued. He raised one of his own hands and pointed at Ji-won. His fingers were long and perfect without a single mark. "What happened to her? Did she have an accident? Is she sick?" Some of the aliens in the crowd made sounds. Ji-won's translator device could not tell her if they were laughing or just talking, but she could guess. She had heard that kind of sound before. Captain Hyun-woo stepped forward. His face stayed calm, but Ji-won could see the muscles in his jaw tighten. "Chief Engineer Ji-won is one of our best. Her hands tell the story of her service and service." Velthar tilted his head. "You mean your people are so primitive that you still do dangerous work with your bare hands? Do you not have machines for this?" "We have machines," Hyun-woo said quietly. Then why is she damaged? Velthar turned to address the crowd now, not just the humans. Look at this. The humans claim they want to join our council. They want to sit with the great civilizations of the galaxy, but they send us someone who looks like a survivor of a war. Does Earth have so few undamaged people? More sounds from the crowd. Definitely laughter this time. G1 could tell. It sounded the same in every language, every species. The sound of people who thought they were better than you. In the Kryn Empire, Velthar said, we believe that the body reflects the mind. Perfect beings have perfect bodies. Only the foolish or the weak bear such marks. He waved one hand at G1 dismissively. This one must not be very intelligent. Or she would have found a way to avoid such damage. G1 breathed slowly through her nose. She wanted to speak. She wanted to tell him exactly how she got each scar. She wanted to explain that every mark on her hands came from saving someone else. But she stayed quiet. That was the plan. Let them reveal who they were first. Captain Hyunwoo put a hand on her shoulder. Just a light touch. A reminder that he was there. That she was not alone. The ceremony continued. Other ambassadors spoke about rules and treaties. About trade and territory. Ji-won stopped listening to the words. She watched the aliens instead. Some looked at her with curiosity. Others with disgust. A few seemed confused, like they could not understand why the humans would bring someone like her. The speeches went on for what felt like hours. Finally, the crowd began to move toward another room. Dinner would be served there in the traditional style of galactic diplomacy. Eating together was supposed to show trust and peace between species. Ji-won followed Captain Hyunwoo off the platform. They walked through the crowd. Aliens stepped aside to let them pass, but not very far. Some stared openly at Ji-won's hands. Others whispered to each other. The dining hall was just as big as the ceremony room. Long tables stretched across the floor in complicated patterns. Humans did not eat the same food as most aliens, so their table was separate in a corner. That was fine with Ji-won. She did not want to sit near Velthar anyway. They took their seats. The food came on floating platforms that drifted through the air. Ji-won picked at her meal without really tasting it. Across the room she could see Velthar talking with other ambassadors. Sometimes he looked over at the human table and made gestures with his hands. The other aliens would look and make those sounds again. Ignore them, Minji whispered. She sat next to Ji-won and kept her voice low. They are fools, I know, Ji-won said. But knowing something and feeling it were different things. Young Dae-hyun leaned forward. I recorded everything he said. Every insult. It is all documented. Captain Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Good. We will need that later. Ji-won was about to ask what he meant when something changed in the room. The conversation stopped. The sounds faded. Everyone turned to look at something near the main entrance. Ji-won turned too. At first she could not see what everyone was looking at. Then the crowd moved, creating a path, and she saw it. A creature walked into the room. No, not walked. It moved on 4 legs, low to the ground like a hunting cat. But it was not a cat. It was something else. Something that made every muscle in Ji-won's body tense up without her meaning to. The creature was about the size of a large dog. Its body was covered in dark scales that reflected the light in strange ways. 6 eyes glowed yellow on its face. Claws clicked on the floor as it walked. A tail with sharp spikes swayed behind it. Vrax cub, Minji breathed. Her face had gone pale. Ji-won had heard of the Vrax, everyone had. They were one of the most dangerous species in the known galaxy, massive warriors who had conquered 12 star systems. Their adults were nearly impossible to kill. They could tear through steel with their bare claws. They had never lost a war, and their young were unpredictable, deadly, wild. The cub stopped in the center of the room. Its handler, a small alien with gray skin, tried to guide it with a thin leash, but the cub was not interested. It lifted its head and sniffed the air. All 6 eyes moved, looking around the room at different things. Then those eyes stopped. They all focused on one point. They focused on Ji-won. The cub pulled away from its handler. The leash snapped. The small gray alien fell backward with a cry. The cub started moving across the room. Straight toward the human table, straight toward Ji-won. The room erupted in panic. Aliens scattered. Some flew upward. Others ran for the doors. But Ji-won could not move. She sat frozen in her chair, watching the Vrax cub come closer. Its yellow eyes never left her face. Captain Hyunwoo stood up fast, putting himself between Ji-won and the approaching. Creature. But the cub went around him easily, moving. The room stayed completely silent. G1 could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. The Varax cub still touched her hand with one claw, waiting for an answer. Its 6 yellow eyes watched her face with an intelligence that surprised her. This was not just an animal. This was something that could think and understand. G1 swallowed hard. Her mouth felt dry. She had no idea what to say. No one had prepared her for this. In all the briefings before they came to the station, no one mentioned that she might have to talk to a Varax cub. No one told her what to do if one of the galaxy's most dangerous predators asked her a question. She started, then stopped. Her voice came out weak and shaky. She cleared her throat and tried again. I was not in battles. Not the kind you mean. The cub tilted its head. The movement was strangely like a dog listening to something interesting. But you have warrior marks, it said. The words came out slow and careful, like it was thinking hard about each one. I see them. On your hands. Like mine. The cub lifted its other front paw and held it up next to G1's hand. For the first time, G1 noticed thin lines cut into the scales on the cub's leg. They were small and precise, not like scars from accidents. They looked like someone had made them on purpose. Like decorations. These are from my first trial, the cub said. It sounded proud. I survived the rock plains. I hunted my first kill. My mother gave me these marks to show I am becoming strong. G1 looked at the marks on the cub's leg, then at her own scarred hands. They did look similar in some ways. Both showed a history written on skin. But the meanings were so different. My marks are not from trials, G1 said quietly. She did not know why she was explaining this to a creature that could probably kill her in seconds. But something in those 6 eyes made her want to answer honestly. They are from my work. I am an engineer. I fix ships. Ships break you? The cub sounded confused. Sometimes. When things go wrong, when there is danger, someone has to fix it. I fix it. The cub's eyes moved across both of G1's hands, studying every scar. Tell me, it said. It was not asking anymore. It was commanding. But not in a mean way. More like it really wanted to know. G1 glanced up at Captain Hyunwoo. He stood very still nearby, ready to grab her and run if the cub attacked. But something in his eyes told her to keep talking. So she did. She raised her right hand and pointed to a thick scar that ran across her palm. This one came from holding a reactor core shut. The locks failed while we were in deep space. If the core opened, radiation would have killed everyone on the ship. I held it closed with my hands while my crew evacuated. You held the dangerous thing? The cub leaned closer. You did not run? I could not run. Someone had to hold it. I was the only one close enough. The cub made that rumbling sound again, deeper this time. G1 pointed to another scar on her left hand near her wrist. The skin there was twisted and shiny like melted plastic. This is from acid. Chemical coolant. A mining colony sent a distress call. Their life support was failing. I had to fix a broken pipe. The pipe was leaking coolant. It burned through my glove. You fixed it even while it burned you? Yes, the miners needed air to breathe. There were children in that colony. I finished the repair. The cub's tail stopped swaying. It became completely still, just watching G1's face. All 6 eyes were locked on her now. G1 continued, pointing to smaller scars. These are from hot metal, from sharp edges, from electrical burns, from a dozen different emergencies. Every time there was a choice. I could step back and let the machines try to fix it, or I could put my hands into the danger and fix it faster, better, before more people got hurt. And you chose your hands, the cub said. It was not a question. I chose my hands, G1 agreed. The cub lowered its paw and sat back on its haunches. It looked like it was thinking very hard about something. The rumbling sound came again, longer this time. G1's translator device clicked and buzzed, trying to find words to match the sound. Finally, it gave up and just stayed silent. Then the cub did something that made the whole room gasp. It pressed its paw against its own chest over where a human heart would be. You are battle-scarred, it said clearly. You earned these marks protecting the weak ones. This is the highest honor among my people. G1 blinked. What? You did not run from danger. You put your body between danger and those who could not fight. You carry the proof on your skin. The cub's voice got louder, more excited. You are a protector warrior. The best kind. Before G1 could respond, someone pushed through the crowd. It was the small gray alien who had been holding the leash. The handler looked terrified and angry at the same time. It rushed up to the cub and started making quick, sharp sounds. G1's translator picked up words like inappropriate and not allowed and away from the alien. But the cub ignored its handler completely. It kept looking at G1. "My name is Kesh," the cub said. "I am third born of War Commander Thex. I am 7 seasons old, and I declare that this human has the spirit of a Vrax warrior." The handler made a choking sound. Around the room, other aliens started talking all at once. Some sounded shocked. Others sounded excited. A few sounded angry. G1 heard Velthar's voice rise above the others. "This is nonsense. The creature is young and foolish. It does not understand what it is saying." Kesh's head snapped around, all 6 eyes fixed on Velthar. The cub's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. A low growl came from its throat. The sound made every hair on G1's arm stand up. "I am young," Kesh said, each word coming out hard and sharp. "But I am not foolish. I know warrior marks when I see them. You do not. You called this human damaged, but she is marked by honor, not damage." Velthar took a step backward. His 3 eyes widened. His purple skin got a little paler. He opened his mouth, then closed it again without speaking. The handler tried one more time to pull Kesh away. But the cub planted its feet and refused to move. "I want to stay with this one," Kesh announced. "She smells right, like fire and metal and courage." Captain Hyunwoo cleared his throat carefully. "Young one," he said, his voice very polite. "We are honored by your words, but we do not want to cause problems." "No problem," Kesh said firmly. "I choose to stay near the scarred human. It is my right. I am a war commander's child. No one can tell me no." The handler let out a long, defeated sigh. It looked at G1 with an expression that might have been an apology, though it was hard to tell on an alien face. Then it pulled out a small communication device and started speaking into it rapidly. "I think," Minji whispered from her seat, "that this just became very complicated." Captain Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Yes, it did." Kesh moved closer to G1's chair and sat down right next to her. The cub was large enough that its head came up to G1's shoulder when she was sitting. This close, G1 could feel heat coming from its body. She could smell something like copper and earth. "You will tell me more stories about your marks," Kesh said. It was not a question. "I want to learn how humans become warriors." G1 looked at Captain Hyunwoo. He gave a small nod. What else could they do? Arguing with a Vrax cub seemed like a bad idea, especially one that was being nice to them. So G1 started talking. She told Kesh about the time she crawled through a burning corridor to reach trapped miners. She explained how she once repaired life support while her suit was leaking air into space. She described holding together a cracked hull with her bare hands until help arrived. Kesh listened to every word. Sometimes the cub would ask questions. "Were you afraid? Did it hurt? Why did you not let others do it?" And G1 answered honestly every time. Yes, she was afraid. Yes, it hurt. But she did it because no one else could, or because she could do it faster, or because it was simply the right thing to do. Other humans from the ship came over slowly, carefully. They stood near the table, ready to help if something went wrong. But nothing went wrong. Kesh just listened and asked questions and occasionally made that rumbling sound that seemed to mean approval. The other aliens in the room stayed back. Some whispered to each other. Some recorded everything on their devices. A few, including Velthar, left the room entirely. After about an hour, the small gray handler's communication device made a loud beeping sound. The handler looked at it and all the color drained from its already gray face. It looked up at the ceiling and made a sound that G1's translator said meant something like, "Oh no," or "We are doomed." "What is wrong?" Captain Hyunwoo asked. The handler turned to face the humans. Its voice shook when it spoke. "War Commander Thex is coming. Kesh's parent. They are on their way to the station right now. They will arrive in 1 hour." The room got very quiet again. "Is that bad?" Young Daehyun asked nervously. The handler laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "War Commander Thex has destroyed planets. They once fought off an entire fleet alone. They have never come to this station before. They avoid diplomacy. They say it is weak and boring. Then why are they coming now? Because their child declared a human to be a warrior. That has never happened before. Not with any alien species. Thex will want to see this human for themselves." The handler looked at G1. "They will want to see if Kesh was right or wrong. And if they think Kesh was wrong, Minji asked quietly. The handler wit. The hour passed too quickly. Ji-won sat at the table with Kesh pressed against her side, feeling every minute tick by like a countdown to something terrible. Or maybe something amazing. She could not tell which. The dining hall had changed. Most of the smaller aliens had left, making excuses about other duties. Only the bravest or most foolish remained. The tables had been moved to create a large open space in the center of the room. No one said why, but Ji-won understood. When a Vrak's war commander arrived, you gave them space to move. Captain Hyunwoo stood beside Ji-won's chair. He had not moved in the past hour. Minji and Daehyun stood nearby too. The whole human crew had gathered, forming a protective circle around Ji-won and Kesh. It would not stop a Vrak's warrior, but it made Ji-won feel better anyway. 5 minutes. The gray handler whispered. It looked like it might faint. War Commander Thex's ship has docked. They are coming through the main corridor now. Kesh made an excited sound and wiggled. Mother is here! She will be proud of me. I found a real warrior, not like the soft ones who come to these meetings. Ji-won tried to smile, but her face felt frozen. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against her thighs to make them stop. All her scars felt hot like they were burning again. Breathe, Captain Hyunwoo said softly. Just breathe. You have faced worse than this, have I? Ji-won whispered back. You held a reactor core together with your bare hands. You can do this, Ji-won was not so sure. A reactor core could not judge her. It could not decide if she was worthy or not. The doors at the far end of the hall slid open. Everyone in the room turned to look. Ji-won's breath caught in her throat. War Commander Thex was massive. They stood at least 4 meters tall, maybe more. Their body was covered in thick scales that looked like black armor. 8 eyes glowed deep red on their face, arranged in 2 rows. 4 arms hung from their shoulders, each ending in claws that could probably cut through steel. A long tail dragged behind them, covered in spikes the size of Ji-won's forearm. The war commander moved slowly into the room. Each step made the floor shake slightly. They did not look at anyone except Kesh. When their 8 eyes found their child, they made a sound that shook the air itself. Kesh, Thex said. Their voice was so deep that Ji-won felt it in her bones. You have caused quite a situation. Kesh stood up from beside Ji-won's chair. The cub walked toward their parent, tail wagging. Mother, I found something amazing. A human with warrior marks. Thex looked down at their child. For a moment, the war commander's face softened in a way that seemed almost human. Then the red eyes lifted and focused on Ji-won. Ji-won forced herself to stand up. Her legs felt weak, but she made them work. She would not meet a war commander while sitting down. If she was going to die, she would die on her feet. Thex walked forward. The other aliens in the room moved back quickly, pressing against the walls. But the humans held their ground. Captain Hyunwoo stood firm beside Ji-won. The rest of the crew flanked them. The war commander stopped a few meters away. This close, Ji-won could see every detail. Old scars covered Thex's scales, places where armor had been torn away and grown back thicker. Burns, cuts, marks that told stories of 1,000 battles. Thex's entire body was a map of violence and survival. You are the one my child speaks of, Thex said. It was not a question. Yes, Ji-won managed to say. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. I am Chief Engineer Ji-won of the human vessel Horizon. Show me your hands. Ji-won lifted her hands slowly. She held them out in front of her, palms up. Her scarred, twisted, burned hands, the hands that Velthar had mocked, the hands that had made aliens laugh and whisper. Thex leaned down. All 8 eyes focused on Ji-won's palms. The war commander looked at every scar for a long time. Then one of their clawed hands reached out. Ji-won tried not to flinch as Thex's claw gently touched one of her scars. The touch was surprisingly careful. Almost delicate, this one, Thex said, tapping a thick scar across Ji-won's palm. How did you get this? Ji-won's mouth felt dry. Reactor core failure. I held it shut while my crew evacuated. The metal was hot. It burned through my gloves. How long did you hold it? 17 minutes, Thex's eyes narrowed. 17 minutes. With burning metal in your hands, yes. Why did you not let go? If I let go, everyone would die. Everyone but you. You could have run. I could have. But I did not. Thex was quiet for a moment. Then the war commander pointed to another scar. This one, chemical burn, acid coolant from a broken pipe. I was fixing life support in a mining colony. You fixed it while the acid burned you? Yes, there were children in the colony. They needed air, and this one? Thex touched a scar near G1's wrist. Electrical burn. Emergency repair on a passenger ship. The wiring was live. I could not shut down the power without killing everyone. So you touched live electrical wires? Yes. Thex straightened up. All 8 eyes studied G1's face now instead of her hands. You seem to put yourself in danger often. Only when necessary. And it is necessary often. Sometimes. Things break. Emergencies happen. Someone has to fix them. Why you? Why not send machines? Or let others take the risk? This was the question G1 had known was coming. She took a breath and spoke carefully. Because I'm good at my job. Because I am fast. Because I know I can survive things that might kill someone else. And because, she paused. How could she explain this to a warrior species? Because it is the right thing to do. The right thing, Thex repeated slowly. You believe there is a right way to act? Yes, even if it hurts you? Yes. Thex walked around G1 in a slow circle. The war commander studied her from every angle. Captain Hyunwoo tensed beside G1, ready to move if needed. But Thex made no threatening gestures. Among the Vraks, Thex said, we believe scars are proof of strength. Every mark on my body came from battle. I fought enemies, I won. My scars show that I am stronger than those who tried to kill me. I understand, G1 said, but your scars are different. Thex completed the circle and stood facing G1 again. You did not fight enemies. You fought danger itself. You fought fire, acid, electricity. You put your body between these things and people who could not protect themselves. Yes. This is not how the Vraks fight. We fight for territory, for honor, for resources. We fight to prove we are strongest. Thex paused. But you fight to protect the weak. This is strange to me. Kesh pushed forward between them. But it is honorable, Mother. Can you not see? She fights differently than we do, but she still fights. She still earns her marks in struggle. Thex looked down at their child. Yes, small one. I see that. The war commander looked back at G1. But I need to understand why. Why do humans do this? Why protect the weak? Among most species, the weak die. This is natural. This is how things work. Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward. May I speak, war commander? Thex's eyes shifted to him. You are the captain of this human's vessel? Yes, Captain Hyunwoo. Speak. Hyunwoo chose his words carefully. You are right that letting the weak die is natural. Many species in this galaxy follow that rule, but humans made a different choice. A long time ago, before we went to space, we decided that we did not want to be ruled only by nature. You fought nature? Thex sounded interested now. In a way, yes. We looked at the world and said, this is how things are, but this is not how things must be. We can choose a different way. We can choose to protect each other, to carry the ones who cannot walk, to feed the ones who cannot hunt, to save the ones who cannot save themselves. Why would you choose this? It makes you weaker as a group. The strong must work harder to carry the weak. In the short time, maybe, Hyunwoo agreed. But in the long time, it makes us stronger. When we protect everyone, even the weak ones, those weak ones grow up. They learn. They become strong in different ways. A person who cannot fight might become a scientist who saves millions with medicine. A person who cannot hunt might become an engineer who builds ships that take us to the stars. Thex was quiet, thinking about this. Hyunwoo continued. And there is another reason. When we protect the weak, we become something more than just survivors. We become people who care. People who build societies. People who make art and music and stories. We become human. You are saying your strength is not just in surviving, Thex said slowly. Your strength is in what you choose to survive for. Yes. And this one, Thex pointed at Ji-won, she chooses to survive for others. Every time, Hyunwoo said with pride. Ji-won has faced death dozens of times. She has put her hands into fire, acid, electricity, radiation, always to save someone else. Always because she believed it was right. Thex looked at Ji-won again. Do you fear death? Yes, Ji-won answered honestly. Then why do you risk it? Ji-won thought about this. No one had ever asked her directly before. She had just done what needed to be done, but now she had to find words for it. Because, she said slowly, I do not want to live in a universe where people do not help each other. I do not want to be the person who stood by while others died. I want to be someone who tried, even if it hurts, even if it scares me. I want to know that when the moment came, I did not run. You choose your scars, Thex said. Yes, I choose them. Every time. Thex stood very still for a long moment. All 8 eyes stared at Ji-Wan without blinking. The room was completely silent. Ji-Wan could hear her own heartbeat again, pounding hard and fast. Then War Commander Thex's news traveled fast in the diplomatic station. Within an hour, every alien on the station knew what had happened. War Commander Thex had honored a human. A Vrax warrior had called a human engineer a protector warrior. Videos of the salute spread through communication networks like wildfire. Ji-Wan sat in her quarters trying to process everything. Her hand still shook slightly. The adrenaline from meeting Thex was finally wearing off, leaving her exhausted and drained. Captain Hyunwoo had told her to rest. But rest felt impossible. Her mind kept replaying the moment when Thex's 8 red eyes had stared into hers. A knock came at her door. Ji-Wan stood up and opened it. Minji stood outside, holding a cup of tea. Thought you might need this, Minji said, offering the cup. Thank you. Ji-Wan took it and stepped aside to let Minji enter. They sat together in silence for a moment. The tea was hot and bitter, exactly how Ji-Wan liked it. The warmth helped settle her nerves. The entire station is talking about you, Minji said finally. Some aliens are calling you a hero. Others are trying to understand what happened. And what about Velthar? Ji-Wan asked. Minji's expression hardened. He is having a very bad day. Ji-Wan almost smiled at that. Almost. Daehyun showed me the recordings, Minji continued. Before Thex arrived, Velthar was telling other ambassadors that humans were primitive and weak. He said our technology was inferior. He said we did not deserve a place on the council. He said a lot of things, yes. And now every word is coming back to destroy him. Other species are asking why the Kryn ambassador insulted someone who earned the respect of a Vrax war commander. They are questioning his judgment. Good, Ji-Wan said quietly. Minji looked at her with concern. How are you feeling, really? Ji-Wan stared down at her hands. The same scarred hands that had been mocked this morning. The same hands that now carried honor from one of the galaxy's most feared species. I do not know, she admitted. This morning I felt ashamed of these scars. I wished I could hide them. Now they mean something different. Yes, but they are the same hands. The same scars. I did not change, only how others see me changed. That is important though, Minji said gently. Perception matters in diplomacy. And right now the galaxy's perception of humanity just shifted. Another knock came at the door. This time it was Captain Hyunwoo with Daehyun behind him. May we come in? Hyunwoo asked. Ji-Wan nodded. Her small quarters felt crowded with 4 people inside, but she did not mind. Having her crew around made her feel safer. Hyunwoo got straight to the point. We have been contacted by 6 different species in the last hour. All of them want to meet with us. All of them want to talk about cultural exchanges. 6? Ji-Wan blinked. That is more than we expected, yes, Hyunwoo said. The Vrax situation changed everything. Other species are suddenly interested in understanding humanity better. Daehyun pulled out his communication tablet. I have been monitoring the diplomatic channels. The conversations are fascinating. Many species are re-evaluating their views on humans. What are they saying? Ji-Wan asked. Daehyun scrolled through messages. Lots of things. Some are practical. The Talmic Republic wants to discuss joint rescue operations. They are impressed by our willingness to risk ourselves for others. The Hess Collective asked about our medical training. They want to know how we teach compassion alongside technical skills. And the others? More philosophical. The realm of cliques wants to study our culture. They say they never met a species that deliberately chooses to protect the weak instead of letting natural selection work. They find it, Daehyun searched for the right word, fascinating. Minji leaned forward. What about military species? They must have opinions too. Oh yes, Daehyun said with a slight smile. The warrior cultures are very interested. 3 different species have asked if they can send observers to watch human rescue operations. They want to see this protection warfare in action. Ji-Wan shook her head in disbelief. Protection warfare. They are making it sound like a military strategy. Maybe it is, Hyunwoo said thoughtfully. Think about it. We train people to run toward danger instead of away from it. We build entire organizations around saving others. Firefighters, medics, rescue teams, engineers like you. From their perspective, that might look like a very strange kind of warfare. Warfare against what? Against death itself. Against entropy. Against the natural cruelty of the universe. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. We fight to keep people alive who might otherwise die. That is a kind of battle. Ji-won had never thought of it that way. But maybe he was right. Maybe every time she put her hands into fire or acid or electricity, she was fighting. Not against enemies, but against the universe's indifference. There is more news, Daehyun said, his expression becoming more serious. Ambassador Velthar tried to file a formal complaint against humanity. For what? Minji asked sharply. For inappropriate manipulation of a minor Vrax through emotional deception. Daehyun made air quotes with his fingers. He claims Ji-won somehow tricked Kesh into respecting her. That is ridiculous, Ji-won said. Yes, everyone knows it is ridiculous. Which is why the complaint was rejected within minutes. The Galactic Council told Velthar that questioning of Vrax War Commander's judgment was not wise. They suggested he drop the matter. Did he? He had no choice. But it gets better. Daehyun's smile grew. 2 species have filed formal complaints against Velthar. The Vrax Collective demanded an apology for his insult to Ji-won, who they now consider a recognized warrior. And the Talmik Republic accused him of violating diplomatic conduct codes by mocking a representative during an official ceremony. Ji-won felt something warm spread through her chest. Not quite satisfaction. More like validation. The universe was telling Velthar that he had been wrong. Very wrong. What will happen to him? She asked. Hyunwoo shrugged. Probably nothing serious. He might get reassigned, maybe demoted, but his reputation is damaged. Other ambassadors will remember this. They will remember that he insulted someone who earned respect from the Vrax. Good, Ji-won said again. She meant it more this time. A new message alert chimed on Daehyun's tablet. He looked at it and his eyebrows rose. This is interesting. War Commander Thex has requested a formal meeting with Earth's representatives. When? Hyunwoo asked. Tomorrow. The Vrax want to discuss a potential alliance. The room went silent. Everyone stared at Daehyun. An alliance, Minji said slowly. The Vrax want an alliance with humanity? That is what the message says. Thex wants to discuss mutual interests and shared values. Hyunwoo let out a long breath. This is bigger than we thought. Much bigger, he was right. The Vrax Collective had never allied with any species. They conquered or they ignored. They did not partner. An alliance with humanity would shift the entire power structure of the galaxy. Why would they want an alliance with us? Ji-won asked. We are small. We are new. We have nothing to offer them. We have something they respect, Hyunwoo said. We have a philosophy that impressed a war commander. Sometimes that matters more than weapons or resources. Another message alert. Daehyun checked it. The Galactic Council has requested that you address them tomorrow, Ji-won. Before the meeting with Thex. They want you to speak about human values and culture. Me? Ji-won's voice came out higher than she meant it to. I am not a diplomat. I am an engineer. You are a symbol now, Hyunwoo said gently. Whether you wanted to be or not. Your scars tell a story that the galaxy is suddenly interested in hearing. Ji-won looked down at her hands again. These hands that had worked so hard, that had hurt so much, that carried so many stories written in scar tissue. She had never wanted to be a symbol. She had never wanted attention. She just wanted to do her job and help people. But maybe that was exactly why she needed to speak, because she was not trying to impress anyone. She was just being honest about who she was and what she believed. Okay, Ji-won said finally. I will do it. You do not have to, Hyunwoo reminded her. We can send someone else. A career diplomat, someone trained for this. No, it should be me. If they want to hear about human values, they should hear it from someone who lives those values, not someone who just talks about them. Minji squeezed Ji-won's shoulder. We will be right there with you. All of us, Daehyun added. The whole crew. Thank you, Ji-won said softly. They spent the next few hours preparing. Daehyun researched what other species had said in council addresses. Minji helped Ji-won choose what to wear. Hyunwoo advised her on how to speak clearly and confidently. But the most helpful thing came from an unexpected source. A message arrived from War Commander Thex. It was short and simple. Speak your truth. Do not try to be what they expect. Be what you are. That is what earned respect. Ji-won read the message 3 times. Then she deleted all the notes she had been making about what to say. Thex was right. She did not need to perform. She just needed to be honest. That night, Ji-won could not sleep. She lay in her bunk and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would stand in front of the Galactic Council. Tomorrow she would speak for humanity. Tomorrow everything could change. She thought about all the times she had put her hands into danger. Every burn, every cut, every scar. At the time, the council chamber was even larger than the ceremony hall. Circular tiers rose up from the center like an amphitheater, with hundreds of seats for representatives from across the galaxy. Each species had their own section, marked by symbols Ji-won could not read. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, making the whole space feel like it was floating. Ji-won stood in the center on a small platform that rose from the floor. Captain Hyun-woo and the rest of her crew sat in the human section, which was small and off to one side. The new species always got the smallest sections. That was how things worked here, but today the small section did not matter, because every eye in the chamber was focused on Ji-won. High Counselor Reth, a tall being covered in blue feathers, raised 3 of their arms for silence. We gather today to hear from Chief Engineer Ji-won of the human vessel Horizon. The events of yesterday have caused much discussion among our members. We wish to understand more about human culture and values. Ji-won's throat felt tight. She swallowed hard and tried to remember what Thex had said. Speak your truth. Be what you are. Thank you for this opportunity, Ji-won said. Her voice echoed in the large space carried by technology she did not understand. I am not a politician. I am not trained in diplomacy. I am an engineer. I fix things that are broken. That is all I know how to do. She raised her hands slowly, holding them up so everyone could see. The scars were visible even from far away. Yesterday, Ambassador Velthar asked what happened to me. He asked if I was damaged, if I was sick, if I had been in accidents. Ji-won paused. The answer is no. I chose these scars. Every single one. A murmur ran through the chamber. Aliens whispered to each other in hundreds of languages. I know this seems strange to many of you, Ji-won continued. Why would anyone choose to be hurt? Why would anyone put themselves in danger on purpose? Let me explain. She pointed to her right palm. This scar came from holding a reactor core shut. The metal was burning my hands. I could have let go. I could have run. But if I did, 73 people would have died. So I held on. For 17 minutes I held burning metal in my hands, and all 73 people lived. Ji-won moved her finger to another scar. This one came from fixing a pipe that was leaking acid. A mining colony was running out of air. There were 42 people in that colony. 16 of them were children. The acid burned through my gloves. I finished the repair anyway. All 42 people lived. She showed another scar, and another. Each one had a story. Each one had numbers. People saved. Lives protected. Deaths prevented. I could tell you about every scar on my hands, Ji-won said, but we would be here for days. So I will tell you what they all have in common. Every one of these scars came from a moment when I had to choose. I could protect myself or I could protect others. I could save my own skin or I could save someone else's life. And every time I chose others, High Counselor Reth spoke. But why? This is what we do not understand. Why sacrifice yourself for others? How does this benefit you or your species? Ji-won thought carefully before answering. It does not benefit me, at least not in ways you can measure. I do not get paid more for having scars. I do not get special privileges. These marks make my hands hurt sometimes. They make simple tasks harder. Then why do it? Because I want to live in a universe where people help each other. Because I believe that protecting others is more important than protecting myself. Because Ji-won struggled to find the right words. Because that is what makes us human. An ambassador from the Krell species stood up. They looked like a massive beetle made of silver metal. But this makes no sense from a survival perspective. The strong should survive. The weak should fall away. This is natural law. You are right, Ji-won said simply. It is not natural. Humans are not natural. We stopped being natural a long time ago. That got everyone's attention. The whispers stopped. Every alien in the chamber focused on Ji-won. Millions of years ago, Ji-won said, humans were just animals. We followed natural law. The strong survived. The weak died. But then something changed. We started taking care of each other. We started carrying the injured. We started sharing food with those who could not hunt. We started protecting the weak instead of abandoning them. Why would evolution favor such behavior? The Krell ambassador asked. Maybe it did not, G1 admitted. Maybe we chose it anyway. Maybe humans looked at natural law and said, we can do better than this. We can create a different law. A law that says every life matters. A law that says strength should be used to protect, not to dominate. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. That is what these scars represent. They are proof that humans reject natural law. We do not accept that the weak should die. We do not accept that only the strong deserve to survive. We fight against that. Every day, with our hands, with our bodies, with our lives if necessary, another ambassador stood. This one was from the Vrax section. Not Thex, but another Vrax warrior. But what do you gain from this? What is the purpose of sacrificing yourself? Purpose, G1 repeated. Yes, that is the word. That is what we gain. Purpose. She held up her scarred hands again. These marks hurt me. They make my life harder. But when I look at them, I remember. I remember the faces of people I saved. I remember children who got to grow up because I held a burning pipe. I remember families who stayed together because I fixed a life support system. Every scar is a reminder that I mattered, that my existence made a difference. G1's voice got stronger. You ask what we gain? We gain meaning. We gain purpose. We gain the knowledge that we are more than just bodies surviving in space. We are souls choosing how to use our strength, and we choose to use it to protect others. High Counselor Reth tilted their head. You are saying that humans find value in sacrifice itself? Yes, but not just any sacrifice. Sacrifice with purpose. Sacrifice that saves lives. Sacrifice that makes the universe a little bit better. G1 looked down at her hands. I would not trade these scars for perfect skin, because these scars prove that I stood between danger and innocent people. They prove that I did not run. They prove that I am exactly who I want to be. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then from the back, someone started making a sound. A rhythmic noise that G1's translator said meant approval or agreement. Others joined in. More and more aliens making sounds of respect. Not all of them. Some sat silent, clearly not convinced, but enough to matter. Enough to show that G1's words had reached at least some of them. When the sounds faded, High Counselor Reth spoke again. Chief Engineer G1, you have given us much to think about. We will take your words into consideration as we evaluate humanity's place in this council. Thank you, G1 said. Then she added, but I want to be clear about something. I did not come here to convince you that humans deserve a place in your council. I came here to tell you who we are, what we believe, what we are willing to die for. Whether that is enough for you is your decision, but we will not change who we are to fit your expectations. That caused another stir. Some aliens looked shocked. Others looked impressed. High Counselor Reth's feathers ruffled in what might have been amusement. Noted, Reth said. You may return to your seat. G1 stepped down from the platform. Her legs felt shaky, but she made it back to the human section without falling. Captain Hyunwoo squeezed her shoulder as she sat down. Well done, he whispered. The rest of the council meeting dealt with other matters. Trade agreements. Border disputes. Technical details that made G1's mind wander. She was exhausted. Speaking in front of hundreds of aliens had drained her more than 12 hours of repair work. Finally, the meeting ended. Aliens began filing out of the chamber. Many of them looked at G1 as they passed. Some with respect, some with curiosity, a few with what might have been disgust. G1 did not care. She had said what she needed to say. War Commander Thex was waiting outside the chamber. Kesh sat beside their parent, tail wagging when they saw G1. You spoke well, Thex said. Thank you. Now we must speak privately about the alliance. Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward. We are ready to discuss terms. They went to a private meeting room. It was smaller, more comfortable. Seats designed for different body types. A table that adjusted its height automatically. Thex got straight to the point. The Vrax Collective wishes to form an alliance with humanity. Not because you are strong warriors. You are not, by our standards, but because you have something we lack. What is that? Hyunwoo asked. Purpose beyond conquest. We Vrax are very good at taking territory, at winning battles, at being feared. Thex paused. But we have started to ask ourselves, what is it all for? Why conquer if we have no greater reason? Kesh spoke up. Mother has been talking about this for many seasons. She says the Vraks have lost something important. We forgot why we became strong in the first place, Thex nodded. We became strong to protect our people, to keep our children safe. But somewhere along the way, being strong became the only goal. We fight because we are warriors. But we have forgotten what we are supposed to be warriors for. And you think humans can help with that? G1 asked. I think humans remember what we forgot. You remember that strength has purpose, that scars have meaning, that fighting is not just about winning but about protecting.